Hello and welcome to my battle. Ugh, did it again. Hello and welcome to my Specialization Introduction and Outdoor Content Guide for the Survival Hunter in World of Warcraft Battle for Azeroth. If you haven't watched the primer video for this series, go do that now. There's going to be a link in the description. That's going to explain what we're doing, give you the details. Everything will make a little more sense. You only need to watch it one time, and it's applicable to all the videos. Saves everybody a lot of time. So make sure you go do that now. Alright, so we're here on the Survival Hunter, and first things first, you can use these talents that I have selected here, and that will fulfill the requirements that we talked about in the primer video. So next we're going to jump into our spell book, and we are going to start sorting our spells. Now, I'm not going to go in depth into each of these spells. I'm going to give a general description that should help you to understand why the spell is going in the particular category that it is. So let's jump in with Aspect of the Cheetah. This is a 3-minute cooldown, but it is a movement ability. I always place those in our combat utility section because you're always going to want to be using them, even if you're just trying to go faster down a hallway or get out of a cave or something like that. Aspect of the Eagle increases the range of one of our core abilities, so that's going to be a combat utility spell as well. Aspect of the Turtle deflects attacks and reduces damage. That's a defensive cooldown. Call Pet. This is the menu that lets us choose which pet we're going to have out. You're mainly going to be using this outside of combat because you probably want to start combat with your pet already there. So we'll put that over in our miscellaneous section. Next we have Carve. That's part of our core rotation. Command Pet. This ability is going to change based on the type of pet we have out. So we're going to talk about it afterwards. But for now, right now, we're just going to put it down on the bottom left here in our miscellaneous section, and we'll come back to it. Coordinated Assault increases the damage that we do and that our pet does, so that's going to be an offensive cooldown ability. Disengage will cause us to leap backwards. That's a movement ability. We'll put it over here in combat utility. Eagle Eye is a fun ability that will let us look at a spot far off in the distance. That's something we're just going to kind of use for fun, so it'll go over in the miscellaneous spell section. Exhilaration restores 30% of our health and our pet's health, so that's a defensive cooldown. Feign Death tricks enemies into ignoring us, defensive cooldown. Flare is a combat utility ability that you're probably not going to use very often. It reveals hidden and stealth enemies in the target area, but there may be the occasion where you want to use that, so we'll put that in our combat utility over on the right hand side, just to remember that it's there. Freezing Trap is going to incapacitate an enemy that falls into it, so that's going to go under our crowd control and CC section. Harpoon is a combat utility ability. We can use that to pull ourselves to the target. Intimidation causes our pet to stun the target. That's a crowd control ability. Kill Command is part of our core rotation. Misdirection is another combat utility ability that we're probably not going to use in the open world. It allows you to take the threat that you would generate and send that to a different party member. So we're going to put that over here with Flare as something we want to be aware of, but we're probably not going to use very often. Muzzle is an interrupt that goes in our crowd control area. We've got our pet utility menu that's going to go over on our miscellaneous area. That's going to allow us to do things like feed our pet and revive our pet. Generally things we'll be doing outside of combat for the most part, so we're going to put that over here. Raptor Strike is part of our core rotation. Serpent Sting is part of our core rotation. Tar Trap will slow enemies in its radius. That's a crowd control ability. Wildfire Bomb is part of our core rotation. And Wing Clip is a movement slowing effect that will go into crowd control as well. Now, Normally we would jump right into the resources here, but we're going to go ahead and cover the one passive ability survival hunters have because it really doesn't affect your gameplay at all. While you have a pet out, you and your pet's focus spending abilities will deal increased damage and you'll regenerate health. So more damage, more health. Now, let's talk about the resource that's available to the survival hunter. The survival hunter has one resource. It's called focus. You start combat with 100 of it. You spend it on abilities, and it passively will regenerate. You do have some abilities that can get you focus back in big chunks, but for the most part, you spend abilities, it regenerates on its own, and you spend focus on abilities again. That's how the cycle works. So now that we've gone over that, let's get into our pets. So we need to talk about pets for Hunter. Pets are important. So when we pull up our talent tree, you're going to see that there is a tab here for pets. In Battle for Azeroth, your pet belongs to a family, and that family belongs to a specialization. So your pet specialization will depend on its type, essentially. Depending on the type of pet you have selected, you will have a passive ability and an active ability available to you. So if you have a ferocity pet out, such as a cat, you will have the passive ability Predator's Thirst. You and your pet will gain 10% leech. You'll also get an instant ability called Primal Rage. This is sort of a bloodlust effect. It gives you and all your party members haste. It has a long cooldown. This would be like a offensive cooldown ability. If you pull out a pet like a turtle, that would be a tenacity tanking pet. Your passive ability would be 5% increased health for you and your pet. And then you would get a defensive ability that will reduce damage that you take by 20%. Finally, if you have a cunning pet out like a dog, your passive ability would be to gain 8% increased movement speed. And then your pet ability would be Master's Call, which is a crowd control, removal, and immunity ability that would fall under our defensive cooldowns as well. Now, for survival, I would recommend that you choose a cunning pet, and that's what I'm going to use in this video. So we're going to go ahead and summon our dog. So you'll see now we summoned our dog. He's a cunning pet. We have pathfinding, and our command pet ability has changed to Master's Call. And we're going to go ahead and move that over to our defensive cooldowns. Now, if you are finding that you're taking a lot of damage or your pet isn't able to tank well enough for you, then you can go ahead and switch over to a tenacity pet and use that instead. Okay, so now that we've gone over pets and how they work in Battle for Azeroth, we've got our spells sorted. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the core rotation of the Survival Hunter. Now, the Survival Hunter is a melee DPS class. However, almost all your abilities can be used from range. However, your main ability that you spam a lot is not a ranged ability. So when we start combat, we're going to open up with Serpent Sting. Serpent Sting costs 20 focus, it deals some damage to the target, and then it puts a damage over time debuff on the target that lasts for 10 seconds. Okay, we can cast this from range, it's got a 40-yard range. So we'll open up with that and make sure we have that damage on our target. And we'll go ahead and show you here that 20 focus that we're going to spend is going to regenerate pretty quickly. So we'll cast our Serpent Sting, and you'll see that almost immediately we have all of our focus back. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to spend some focus aside from what we spend on Serpent Sting. And we're going to spend focus either on Raptor Strike, which is our one ability that we have to be at melee range for. And Raptor Strike is a single target ability that does a nice chunk of damage and costs 30 focus. Our other ability we can use is Carve, which costs 35 focus, has a cooldown, but it hits all the enemies in front of us. So it's an AoE ability. It does have some other effects, but we'll talk about that in a minute. So we'll open up with our Serpent Sting, and then to start spending our focus, we can start using Raptor Strike. Or if we have a lot of enemies around us, we can hit Carve. Okay. So that's how we will end up using up some of our focus. And the reason we want to do that is because we don't want to cap our focus or be at full focus. Now, the other ability we have that we can use right off the bat is called Wildfire Bomb. This is an ability on a short cooldown that will deal damage in a cone in front of us and also put a damage over time debuff on the enemies that were hit. So we can go in, we can hit Serpent Sting, we can use our Wildfire Bomb, and then we can start hitting our Raptor Strikes or our Carves if we're fighting a couple of enemies. Now, as we're spending that focus, we're going to be able to use this ability here called Kill Command. Kill Command has a short cooldown. It doesn't cost any focus. It deals damage to a single target, and it has a 25% chance to immediately reset its cooldown. However, the other nice bonus to Kill Command is it will generate 15 focus. So what we can do is if we go in and we start spending all of our focus on Raptor Strike, so let's just use up as much as we can, and then we hit Kill Command and we get a nice chunk of focus back. So we'll just show that off again. You'll see we'll Kill Command and we get a nice chunk of focus. And that's how the basic rotation is going to work. You're going to get your damage over time with your Serpent Sting and your Wildfire Bomb. You're going to start using Raptor Strike or Carve to spend your focus, and then you can start using Kill Command to gain focus back so that you can then Raptor Strike again. Now, the one thing to mention with Carve is that it has the added ability that for each target that you hit, it will reduce the cooldown on Wildfire Bomb by 1 second up to 5. So in AoE situations, you're going to want to use that Cone Blast from Wildfire Bomb, and then you're going to want to start using Carve, which is going to reduce the cooldown on your bomb so you can use your bomb again sooner. So it just kind of cycles in and creates this nice little rotation where you have the ability to do a lot more damage to AoE targets by using Carve. So that's the core rotation. That's all there really is to it. It's pretty simple. And so the next step is to take that rotation and get into the talent tree here and create something with it that will work well in open world content. So the build that I have is, let's make sure we get this correct here. Okay, this is the build that I recommend. It's definitely not the only build that you can use, but it's the one that I enjoy, the one that I find fun, and the one that I think that you should use. There is some flexibility in this build, however, and I will cover that. But the first thing we need to cover is our 90 tier talent, Mongoose Bite. Mongoose Bite is an ability that replaces our Raptor Strike. So we saw that our Raptor Strike, it's just an ability, it costs 30 focus, and it does a good amount of damage to a single target. Now Mongoose Bite also costs 30 focus. It does a little less damage to a single target. So why would we want to do less damage? Well, the reason for that is you end up spamming Raptor Strike a lot against a single target. With Mongoose Bite, every time you attack with Mongoose Bite, you get a stack of Mongoose Fury. Mongoose Fury increases the damage of Mongoose Bite by 15% for up to 14 seconds, and that stacks up to 5 times. So if you're rapidly spamming Mongoose Bite, you can get up to 75% more damage, and at that point, and before that point, your Mongoose Bite starts doing a lot more damage than Raptor Strike does. So, we've replaced our Raptor Strike with Mongoose Bite. What else is going on in the talent tree? Well, the most flexible spots in the tier are the 15 and 30 tiers. So at the 15 tier, I've decided to take Viper's Venom. What this does is it gives our Mongoose Bite a chance to make our next Serpent Sting free and deal a significant amount of additional initial damage. So we can go up here And we can just Mongoose Bite until we see our Serpent Sting go shiny just like that. And then that means it's going to be free. And it's going to do a significant amount of damage initially. So let's see if we can get that to go off one more time. It looks like no luck. There we go. Alright. So that is our Serpent Sting Viper's Venom talent. Now, the next talent that I have is Hydra's Bite. This makes our Serpent Sting, which now we have the chance to cast for free and deal a lot of initial damage, fire 2 additional arrows at enemies near our target, and it increases the damage over time component. So Viper's Venom, free, and the initial damage is boosted. Hydra's Bite lets it hit 3 people, or 3 enemies, and then increases the damage over time debuff that goes on those enemies. So all around, this just makes our Serpent Sting a lot more impactful. Even casting it for the 20 mana, if it's not for free, is still pretty good. And when it is free, it hits even harder. Now, in this talent row, I would also recommend you could go ahead and take Terms of Engagement. That's a nice ability when you use your harpoon to pull you into a target, and I'll show you what that looks like. Just like that. When you do that, harpoon will deal damage deal some initial damage and then generate focus for you over 10 seconds. Also, whenever you kill an enemy that gives you experience or honor, your harpoon cooldown will reset, so you can constantly pull yourself from enemy to enemy, which is pretty nice. The Survival Hunter does have a good amount of mobility, so it's not, super game-changing, but it is nice to be able to do that pull over and over again, especially with that 20 focus that you generate, because you can Serpent Sting, harpoon in, or you can harpoon in and Serpent Sting and get all that focus back even faster and really start spamming your Mongoose Bites. On the 30 tier, you could take Guerrilla Tactics. This will give your Wildfire Bomb 2 charges and significantly increase the initial damage that it does. So that's another nice one you could take for an AoE option if you weren't really into using Serpent Sting. So as far as the other talents we have Trailblazer. Your movement speed is increased by 30% anytime you have not attacked for 3 seconds. So I have 30% increased movement speed from Trailblazer, and 8% increased movement speed from Pathfinding. And this will just drastically increase your ability to go from place to place, running through enemies. The nice thing here is that your movement buff stays as long as you don't attack. So if you're being attacked, it doesn't matter. You get to keep your movement speed bonus. And that's really nice because that will help you get out of caves or run away from enemies or get to the next enemy that you need to fight a lot faster and just generally speed you up. Next, the only active ability that is in the talent build is a Murder of Crows, and we're going to go ahead and it has a minute cooldown, but we're going to bake it right into our core rotation. And the reason for this is that it does cost 30 focus, but what it does is it summons a flock of crows to attack your target. It deals a bunch of damage over 15 seconds, and if the target dies while Murder of Crows is on them, it resets the cooldown, and you can use it again on the next enemy. So when you're fighting multiple enemies, or you're fighting that one rare spawn or elite, you can kind of cast this right away on a easy enemy, or maybe halfway through a health bar on a rare or an elite, and you can constantly have this ability available and basically never have a cooldown. And this gives you a significant increase to your damage. Born to be Wild reduces the cooldowns of Aspect of the Eagle, Aspect of the Cheetah, and Aspect of the Turtle by 20%. These are all really good abilities. Aspect of the Cheetah increases your movement speed by 90% for 3 seconds, and then 30% for another 9 seconds. So it's a huge speed boost, and by taking Born to be Wild, we reduce the cooldown by over 30 seconds. Aspect of the Eagle allows us to use our mongoose bites at range from 40 yards away, and that's being reduced by over 30 seconds. And then finally, our Aspect of the Turtle deflects attacks and reduces damage that we take by 30%, and that's being reduced by over 30 seconds for the cooldown on that as well. So with this one talent, we're getting the ability to use these 3 really strong spells more often. So very, very good talent. And then finally, we have Wildfire Infusion. And honestly, on this 100 tier, you could pick whatever you want. You could take Birds of Prey, which will make your Mongoose Bite and Carve extend the duration of this Coordinated Assault ability that we haven't really talked about. But basically, this boosts your damage and your pet's damage. And then if you're casting Mongoose Bite and Carve while that's active, this will increase the duration. So a completely passive ability that you really don't have to think about too much. You could also take Chakrams, which just puts another ability on your bar. You hit the ability, some Chakrams go out, they come back, they deal some damage, and you're good to go. What I've decided to take is Wildfire Infusion. The reason that I've decided to take this talent is to spice up the rotation, because the survival rotation, in my opinion, is a little bit bland, a little bit boring. This really spices it up. So what it does is, instead of your Wildfire Bomb just doing initial damage in a cone and adding a damage over time, it still does that, but now it also does something different. And what it does can be one of 3 different things, and every time you cast Wildfire Bomb, it turns into one of these 3 different bombs. So initially, you can see down here, this is what the Wildfire Bomb looks like with the Wildfire Infusion talent. It's got the red around it, and it's got a color in the center, and the color will tell you which of the 3 special bombs it is. So when it's blue, it's a Shrapnel Bomb. When it's a Shrapnel Bomb, after you cast it, your Mongoose Bite and Carve will also add a bleed to your target. So let's take a look at this real quick. We're going to do our Mongoose Bites, and you can see there's nothing going on with this training dummy. Now if we cast Shrapnel Bomb, when our focus gets back up, we'll cast Shrapnel Bomb. Now if we start hitting Mongoose Bite, you're going to see there's this internal bleeding going on, which does a lot of damage. Okay, so that's what Shrapnel Bomb does. The next bomb, green, is Volatile Bomb. So Volatile Bomb has some interplay with our Serpent Sting. So what happens is, when Volatile Bomb is active, if you cast it on a target that already has Serpent Sting, it explodes twice, and it will refresh the duration of your Serpent Sting. Now our bomb just changed for some reason. I feel like that was a weird bug, so we're going to get our bomb to go back over to where it was, and then we'll show off that interplay. But we'll go ahead and we'll Serpent Sting, and you can see that our target has the Serpent Sting debuff, and we're going to come off just in time. I'm going to hit this Wildfire Bomb. We get a double explosion, and our Serpent Sting debuff is refreshed. Now we do have one more bomb type to talk about, and we'll have to cast our Shrapnel Bomb here. It looks like it's not wanting to give it to us. This may be bugged right at the moment, so I'll just go into the talent tree and show you how the next one works. So the other one, which has a red center, let's see if we can get this to pop up. It's just going back and forth. Okay, the other one that has a red center is the Pheromone Bomb. The pheromone bomb causes your kill commands to have a 100% chance to reset against targets that have been hit by it. So normally, there we go, we've got it up for the next one. So normally, let's say we're spending focus on our Mongoose Bite, we can use our kill command, and there's a chance, a 25% chance that our kill command will instantly reset its cooldown, and we'll be able to cast it again. I'll try to see if we can, there we go. So with Pheromone Bomb, it's a 100% chance. So what that means is you can spam all of your Mongoose Bites and your Carves, just get your focus all the way down, hit Pheromone Bomb, and then spam Kill Command, and you can get all of your Kill Command Fury generation back, and then go back to spamming Mongoose Bite. So you can get into a little cycle there where you are able to cast the bomb, the Pheromone Bomb, like dump, use up all your Fury, then cast Pheromone Bomb, then spam Kill Command, then use all your Fury again. And that'll pretty much kill just about anything you're fighting. Now I did want to just go over real quickly the special graphic here. When you see these red claw marks, that means that your kill command is available to be cast again for free. We'll see if we can get that to pop up one more time. Alright, so I'm just spamming abilities until kill command comes off cooldown, and there we go, there it is again. Okay? And that is it. That is the build that I recommend that you use in open world content with some of the tweaks and changes that you can make there. Now next we're going to quickly talk about the PvP talents that you can take if your intention is to toggle on war mode and primarily still do PvE. So first off, I recommend that you take Relentless. This will reduce any crowd control effects on you by 20%. It's totally passive. You don't even have to think about it. So very nice. Hunting Pack will reduce the cooldown of Aspect of the Cheetah by 50%. And it will also cause Aspect of the Cheetah to grant that 90% movement speed boost to others around you as well. So this is really nice because we're already reducing the cooldown with our Trailblazer, our Born to Be Wild talent, and then we'll reduce it even more with Hunting Pack, so we'll really be able to use Aspect of the Cheetah all the time, and that's a huge movement speed boost. High Explosive Trap is a 40-second cooldown. This would go in your offensive cooldowns. It puts down a trap, and when an enemy walks over it, it explodes, deals a good amount of damage to that enemy, and then knocks them back, and also affects enemies around that enemy as well. And then finally, Dragon Scale Armor just reduces the damage that you take from magical damage over time abilities by 20%, so a nice defensive ability. So the next thing to do is to take this build out into the open world and show it off against some different enemies. So I'm going to cut to that, and I will see you then. Alright, so we're here in Suramar City, and we're just going to fly around, try out this build against some single targets, multiple enemies, try to find a rare spawn or an elite, and do some of that as well. So let's go down here. We're going to go ahead and hop off our mount. That way our pet will show up. And then we'll see, we can come over here and we can harpoon to our target. We can cast our Murder of Crows, Viper Sting, start using our Mongoose Bite, and he's already dead. Okay. So we can get the enemy to come to us with our Serpent Sting if we want, cast our Murder of Crows, start using our Mongoose Bites, and he's dead. And this is all with the pet on passive, so let's add the pet on there. Serpent Sting, Mongoose Bite. As you can see, this pretty much will get the job done. So let's go ahead and we will gather up a few enemies here. That way we can see how this will work when we have 3, 4, 5 different enemies. We're going to come over here. We're just going to grab all these guys. Alright, so we're going to cast our Serpent Sting, put down our Crow. We're going to use our Shrapnel Bomb and start hitting Carve. If we need to use our defensive ability, we can use our Exhilaration. That will help us get some health back. Put our Murder of Crows on another target here. There we go. We've got our Aspect of the Turtle. This will deflect attacks and reduce damage we take. We've got our Shrapnel Bomb. Cast that. Start hitting our Carve again. Got our free kill command. Start spamming our Mongoose Bites on this guy. Alright. So we took a good chunk of damage there, but that was quite a number of enemies that we were fighting all at the same time. We managed to pull through, and you can see how once you get the hang of the core rotation here, you're going to start to incorporate your other abilities, your defensive abilities like I did there. I used the heal, I used the turtle. You know, this kind of emphasizes why that Born to be Wild talent comes in pretty helpful. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go up and we're going to fight an elite over here. Nice little rare spawn. We'll get a couple of these guys here. So we're going to Wildfire Bomb, start doing Carve right away. Alright, we'll use Mongoose Bite against a single target. Okay. So I'm not even going to wait for the health to come back. What we're going to do here is we're going to cast our Coordinated Assault, and we're going to use our Aspect of the Eagle here. So we'll do Aspect of the Eagle. We'll do Coordinated Assault. Then we're going to start flinging our Mongoose Bites. We're going to put our Murder of Crows on there, our Serpent Sting. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to hit Aspect of the Eagle, Coordinated Assault, open up with a Mongoose Bite, Serpent Sting, Murder of Crows, and then we're just going to start using our Mongoose Bite here. Got a kill command. There we go. So pretty straightforward. If we didn't have, you know, our Aspect of the Eagle, we would have done the same thing, but just in close range. And so here, you know, I'm looking at my bomb. What bomb is coming up? I knew I had Shrapnel Bomb, so I cast that, and then I immediately started using Carve. This one, I've got the Pheromone Bomb, so I could come in, start immediately casting my Raptor Strikes, use my Pheromone Bomb, and start spamming Kill Command to get a bunch of Fury back. So... And so sometimes it's worth using the Murder of Crows, sometimes it's not. On enemies like this, you just kill them so fast. And that's the thing, like, we've gone over the full rotation, but a lot of times you can just use a couple of abilities. So you can see that with our Born to be Wild talent, we do have our cooldowns back, but let's just go ahead and show off, you know, if we didn't have our cooldowns, we could Harpoon in, right? We want to hit up our Serpent Sting, we've got our Volatile Bomb, so we know that we can use that to increase or to re-up our Serpent Sting debuff and get a double explosion against the enemy there. Yeah, so that's how that works if you don't have all the cooldowns to hit. Oh, come on, let me fly away. These guys respawn pretty quick. Alright, that's the build. That's the one that I recommend you use in open world content, you know, with the adjustments that you can make in there. I do think that Volatile, the Wildfire Infusion, makes the bomb a little more interesting. It makes the rotation a little more interesting overall. There's a few ways you can simplify things, but I hope that this video has put you in a position where you can get on your own survival hunter, get out there, start doing open world content like questing, leveling, farming, and try out the specialization and see if it's something that you want to play in Battle for Azeroth. If you like the video, give me a thumbs up, keep encouraging me to make these kinds of videos, subscribe and hit the bell if you want to see more. Either way though, I really just hope that you have a good time in Battle for Azeroth. Thanks for watching.